Emotions are energy in motion. And when the emotions come, they want to move, they want to have that freedom. But because we tend to get so scared, our whole bodies tend to like clench up and we prevent them from moving.
Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
Welcome back to the show, friend. And you know it, we have a new best friend with us, and Ann is here to talk to us about emotions. Do you ever have an emotion? I have ones I love, and I have ones that are kind of uneasy. I have all sorts of emotions. Depending on the day, the exact same thing can cause two different emotions. So we're here with the emotion expert, Ann, and she is going to help us understand how to name those emotions and feel them and accept them. And what's going to happen if we don't? What happens? Well, why do I have to name this emotion? So let's find out what happens if we don't. The information about Ann is in the show notes. So we're going to jump right in and help us identify our emotions and why do we need to name them and feel them?
Well, thank you so much for having me here, Laura Jane. And what I have learned about emotions is that it's easiest if we categorize them into 6 main emotions: sad, mad, glad, hurt, ashamed, afraid. If we deal with those main 6, it's a lot easier to identify what we're feeling. Otherwise, we can get lost in the sea of too many different words and then still stay in the swirl that we're experiencing. And what I would like to offer too to you is that good, bad, fine, okay, those are not feeling words. Those are words that we've learned to make socially acceptable when we are with people. And we've learned to make that okay in like our own sense of identifying, how we feel. And so when we can come down and say, that really made me feel angry. That's a very different space of being able to acknowledge the impact of either a conversation, or an event that it had.
Okay, I do like the categorization, but I kind of missed out. I got sad, mad, glad, and hurt and shame. What was the other one?
Afraid.
Afraid. Oh, and I've had that one tons of times. How could I miss that one? I actually had written down ashamed, and I went, so that now I know how. So, so these emotions, these would be our big categories. So something just happened and I'm feeling frustrated and I'm starting to respond with a little bit of anger or getting mad. So that helps me say, okay, I'm feeling mad. Why does that help me?
Oftentimes when I feel mad, what ends up happening is if I don't name it, I can easily get really angry with myself and start judging myself. And then that inner voice starts railing at me like, you shouldn't be mad. Why are you mad? Suck it up. Don't get all wrapped up in that. And I can easily swirl in a space that's so unhealthy. So when I name the anger, I go, I have a right to feel this way. And it gives me permission to know that I have value, I have worth, I have the ability to say, what just happened to me either crossed a boundary or it violated some sense of who I am. And I have a right to feel angry as a response to that. And then naming it gives me that ability to go, okay, what is it that I feel angry about? Did someone say something that's untrue? And if that is the case, if someone did say something that's untrue, how am I going to respond in that moment? And when I can name that I'm angry, it's easier for me to say, you hurt me when you said this, or I felt
Mhm.
angry when you said this about me, versus reacting in a way that is maybe over the top or full of even more anger, which then can just escalate a situation. And rarely does that end well.
So I like the way you're phrasing it that like I'm starting and like I do question like why am I feeling so angry? Or why am I feeling so hurt? And maybe if I'm like, okay, it's okay to feel hurt. It's okay to have this experience. Let's let's figure out how it got here and what we do with it.
And I have anger is the emotion that I have had the probably the rockiest relationship with, to really have to unpack and find the okayness in experiencing it. And so I came up with an acronym to help me get curious about anger. And the acronym is another new growth experience revealed. So when anger comes up, when I look at it from a space of this is something for me to know and understand to help me grow, it's it's easier for me to get curious about it.
And I think when I get the most angry is when I start getting should have, like, oh, they should have done this or they should have done that. Or I go, all of a sudden I'm getting all angry because I'm trying to tell them how to live. And they're like, wait, it's okay for them to be themselves too. I don't have a right to tell other people what they should or shouldn't do, or at least, it's okay to feel it and get frustrated. But that's where we work with it is what is this? But it definitely the shouldas cause my anger the fastest.
hmm I have a teacher who once told me, quit shooting on yourself, which really hit home for me.
Well, if you think about it, it really is who made these guidelines in the first place? Who said that you have to be a certain way? Sure, it's out of kindness. Sure, it's, out of how we were taught to behave. And if someone breaks that mold, we think, oh, they weren't taught right. Well, they were just taught different.
Mhm.
How do we accept the differences? Because I would say most of these are all generated from a trigger. Yes, we have that inside of us, but something has triggered it to spill out. So, how do we start recognizing it and know that it's okay to have these triggers, but to also know that letting the external be just that, the external, and not what's inside of us is important.
Right. Well, there's a lot of layers to what you just asked. And what I would say for naming the emotions is to get in tune with how they feel in your body. For example, when I feel scared, my heart starts racing and I get butterflies in my tummy. When I feel angry, I feel a tightness in my tummy, my jaw gets tight, and I feel clenching like throughout my whole body. When I feel shame, I feel like everything becomes hollow. And I feel that my whole person kind of starts to wither and try to shirk away in smallness. When I feel hurt, there is a tenderness that I feel in my heart. Like if someone were to touch my chest, the concept of hurt and sadness equal that place of like, oh, please don't. That's very, very tender. And I'm trying to think of what I forgot. Fear, feeling afraid. That one too has a strong butterfly in the tummy with enough of a mix of a tightness in my chest. So I would suggest that to really help yourself in the place of naming emotions is to get curious about how they feel in your body. Because we spend so much time in our heads coming up with the right answer, thinking of the next thing to say, making sure we do the right thing, that we say the right thing, that we act the right way, that we, all of the things that we should go back to your should, all the things that we should do to be a good person, to be a valuable person, to be seen as enough, that we detach from how things feel on the inside. And when you can name how things feel on the inside, it brings that space of getting curious about what the body has to say so the mind isn't in control. And when there's that balance between acknowledging what the body is feeling and then tying it into what the head is telling us, that's a very different place of being able to, I don't want to say control because it's never about control. It's a different space of accepting and allowing us to respond in a way that is wholesome and respond in a way that is very aligned with who who we know ourselves to be instead of, letting the seven-headed snaky monster come out when, when we feel angry.
So say I just got shit-ubbed and I'm starting to like, oh, I start fighting it. Why'd that happen? Why do those people act like that? This is so disrespectful. I hate people that are disrespectful. I'm feeling it. How do you suggest I identify all those feelings? Meditation time, a journaling time. How do you go, okay, this is where I feel it. How do I do that?
Well, a lot of it is very individual as to where you find your greatest respite. Journaling, I find to be a very powerful outlet simply because I can write judgment free. I don't have to explain myself to anybody. No one's going to read it. No one's going to be like, man, why did you say that? Where is that coming from? Like, I can just let everything be freely expressed. I like to refer to it as word vomit when I am feeling emotions. And that's when I get through that part, then I can get to the point of being curious as to what is behind it. Nature is always a really solid respite for me also. So if I'm feeling big things and journaling doesn't feel accessible or I don't have the time, I will go outside and, weather permitting, stand outside barefoot in the grass and just feel a deep connection back to the earth. Take some nice deep breaths. Deep breaths are also very, very valuable in being able to be with the emotion that's coming to remind me and you that it's safe to feel. We've been conditioned that it's not okay to not be okay. If we're not okay, it's like, oh, there's something wrong with you. And so we don't know how to feel safe in our own bodies when we feel. I mean, for me, one of the biggest things when I was first dealing with discovering and exploring emotions, I was seeing how I would get mad at myself for feeling angry. If I was feeling angry, I'd be like, "Why are you angry? What, you shouldn't be angry. What's wrong with you?" And then I'd get mad at myself for how I felt instead of going, "Okay, what is going on within you to get curious about?" But I had to first move past the judgment of feeling and give myself permission. It's okay to feel. It's okay to feel. It's okay. And that was a journey all by itself. So journaling was big in helping me do that. And again, outside time, meditation is very beneficial for some people as well. So that is, yoga, Tai Chi, anything that just helps move energy because emotions are energy in motion. And when the emotions come, they want to move. They want to have that freedom. But because we tend to get so scared, our whole bodies tend to like clench up and we prevent them from moving. And that resistance to them, not only does it create physical tension, it just amps up the energy behind the emotion because the emotion's like, no, no, let me out. I want to move. I want to move. And we're going, no, no, don't feel. So we create more around all of that simply because we've been taught that it's not okay to feel. So it's unsafe to be in our bodies. And so it's rewriting that belief, knowing that it is okay to feel. It is okay to feel uncomfortable in our person and know that we're still safe. It's safe to feel uncomfortable. It's
So,
very counterintuitive.
yes. So I was sitting here thinking about the years that even though I would feel these emotions, I was very robotic on the outside. They didn't show. They didn't, you acted the way you should. And you acted how you were trained to act. And you don't cry at the office. And baseball too. You don't cry in baseball. And you don't yell. You don't stomp your feet. You don't do these things because they're not socially, you are trained, they're not socially acceptable. But some of these natural responses that we have as children actually help us let it go. If you ever got angry and you went outside, just stomp for fun, it kind of lets go. And it's like, why do we have this robotic outside that hides every little emotion. You just ticked me off and I'm just going to act like everything's fine. I even got to the point where I was unscarable. I could not get startled. It was so turned off. And so turning them back on is uncomfortable. And how do, as you turn those on and then you get that curiosity, it's like, okay, what am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? Do I figure out what triggered it first, or do I just start figuring out how it's in my body first?
That can go either direction. My suggestion would be to follow where you are in the moment. I can say from my experience that naming it in my body is the first step so that I feel comfortable in my body, so that it's okay to explore what is there. And then from that space of going, okay, my heart is racing, then you can take care of your heart and you can focus on the deep breath. And if you need to put your hand on your chest, close your eyes and focus on the breath, focus on sending breath to your racing heart and just breathe and remind yourself it's okay to feel what you're feeling. And once you gain that relationship with your body, giving your body permission to feel how she feels, then it's a very different, more accessible place to explore and get curious as to what is behind that.
And a lot of our responses are specifically built into us to create safety. And I think part of saying it's okay is saying, I'm safe.
Mhm.
It's okay to feel this, but that response usually is, oh, I just felt threatened in some way or another, and I need to run, freeze, fight. What is it? What is that thing that you need to do? And that's usually what we're thinking is, how do I keep myself safe?
Mhm.
And if you can first just say, I'm safe. I'm safe. This really isn't a life. It's not a tiger coming after me. It's not a rock falling on the village. It's, I'm safe. And
Mhm.
then keep exploring, because once you feel safe, you can do more.
Mhm. Mhm. Definitely. Definitely. And when you know that you can feel safe and still feel uncomfortable, that then just expands the playground of exploration. Most
Ooh, I
definitely.
like the playground of exploration. Let's talk about this some more. First, let's get a quick word from our sponsor and come back and talk to me about the playground, because now that sounds fun. We'll be right back.
This podcast is sponsored by Lara Jane Coaching. You know you're ready to silence your inner bully voice. Let Lara Jane support you with coaching. To schedule an introduction call, go to larajanelayton.com.
All right, Anne, I want the playground in my mind. How do I put it there?
The playground. I love the visual of the playground because it takes us back to the child mind that you were talking about before. That whole space where when you're a kid, you just get free, full expression of everything. And then when you visualize the child at the playground just running from one thing to the next and the exploration of emotions. So think about fear. And then as a kid, you're going to climb up the ladder for the slide. And it's scary, it's high, and you keep climbing and you trust that you can climb. And then the joy of sliding down, going, I did it. I made it through it. The fear didn't consume me, it didn't stop me. And even if there are tears that come because it's really scary climbing to the top step, the way down is like, aha, I did it. And then you get excited. It's like, okay, well, explore another one. And maybe you need someone to help you explore the next one and jump on a teeter totter and just find the ups and downs and the balances of feeling hurt. Because sometimes when you feel hurt, there's another person who's involved. And so it's that exploration of the back and forth of a teeter totter and having that conversation and being curious about both of you and allowing that to happen. And then maybe when there's the joy piece of it, you're on the merry-go-round and you're spinning around and just having this free for all of being in the moment. And joy is the one that, is the easiest to relate to, the one that we just want to absorb and cherish all the time. And to know that that can be part of the playground. It's in with all of the rest of them. We don't have to exclude joy. Joy gets to be part of the fear slide and the hurt teeter totter and thinking of the balancing thing, there's those, I don't remember what they're called, but the little balancing things at the playground too, where you're navigating the anger and going, I might tip off this little balancing thing, and it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to fall off, and I can get back on and stay with it. I can walk all the way through and find that place of navigating the little balance beam. And maybe shame are the monkey bars. Shame tells us that there's something wrong with who you are. And so maybe we get to play on the monkey bars to help heal shame so that we can take one step at a time and go, I did it. I'm worthy. I did it. I did it. I'm worthy. I did it. And to be able to cancel out the shame story that there is something wrong with who you are as a human being. And you make it to the other side and you're like, I'm safe. I did it. So the whole playground of exploring and letting all of it be real. And truth be told, when you're a child on the playground, sometimes you get so excited you fall and you skin your knee and you may cry for just a second and then you get back up and you just jump right back in onto the playground of exploration.
Yeah, I love that in children, how it's like no big deal to fall. They're not embarrassed. They're not ashamed. They're not fearful of doing it again. They just get up and keep going. And I've thought about a lot in my older life is, why do I let myself stay down so long? Like, oh, I can't get back up. I don't want to. I might fall again. And it doesn't matter. It's okay to fall. We're ashamed if we fall. We're not as good as everybody else. Because look, I know I fell 3 times today and I didn't see anybody else fall. Well, maybe they did, just not when you were looking. And we set everybody else by the glimpses. They're perfect because I saw these 5 glimpses, and I'm miserable because I saw these 23 hours of not perfect glimpses of myself. And it's like, you don't see the other people the same amount of time, yet we compare.
Mm-hmm.
And we just don't feel as good as, but we are worthy.
Right.
And we are okay. And I say that all the time. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Because that's me telling myself I'm safe right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I often find myself saying that I compare my behind the scenes to everybody else's highlight reel.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
So
exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And it's so easy to get stuck in the comparison and to then again turn on ourselves, and then the sadness comes, or whatever emotion, the shame comes, that there must be something wrong with me, that I'm not as happy, that I'm not as successful, that I'm not as this, not as that, or whatever the case may be. And absolutely affirming what you're saying, that you know what happens inside of me is what I know, and what happens inside of you is what you know, and I don't know what happens inside of you. So that point of comparison just is unfair to both of us.
Correct. We're going to do it anyway. But when you can sit back and realize, I cannot compare my whole movie to the highlights, it's not the same. And try picking out your own highlights. Find the highlights of your day. And that reflection at night is, why do we reflect on all the bad things that happen? Because we want to prevent them. But if we could reflect on the good things that happen, we could recreate them. But we don't. We just go out in prevent mode instead of being proactive in the recreate mode.
Well, and to add to that, that reflection at night could also be, it didn't go so well when I had this exchange with so and so, but I did learn that I was afraid of how I was being received in that moment. So now that I know that about me, I am grateful for that nugget, and I'm going to hold that nugget of truth about me into tomorrow and let that be a point of guidance for the next day. And I find that setting it just for today doesn't have to be like forever, just for today, because that feels accessible. That feels like something I can do. I can do this moment and I can do the next moment. And I don't have to worry about what tomorrow, if I feel afraid or if I feel anger or anything else. Like I get to focus just for today. I'm going to remember that little awareness that I had about myself. And I'm going to let that be my truth. And I'm going to let that be my light and my guide in interactions today.
I like it. You know, they always say the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, but really the grass is where you water it. It's greener where you water it. But how do you water it? And the person on the other side of the fence does not see that their grass is greener. It's where you pay attention. What are you really looking at? The thing you look at and stare at the most and go, oh, I want that. That's where the grass is greener. And we can do that in our own pasture. We don't have to look over the fence. What is it in you that is beautiful? And it's that same thing. It's looking at the whole movie and finding those highlights, because that's all you're seeing on the other side of the fence is the highlights.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That one place where someone shit. Oh, it's
right.
green right there. Well, do you want to go through that same experience? Sometimes our greenest moments or our healthiest parts of our body are from the struggles we went through. And you can appreciate them as you look back, but we don't always know that until further in the future.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. And going back to what I was sharing about anger being the toughest emotion for me to explore, a lot of that stemmed from my childhood and my dad having like an explosive anger. So I taught myself to repress anger, repress. It's not okay because I was so afraid. And all of that repression did rear up at a point. It's like, releasing the lid of the pressure cooker. And it was like,
Yeah.
and here we are. And that full expression of anger and then going, it's okay. I am safe. It's okay to feel that anger. It's okay to feel that I have been violated. And I have a right to say, that's not okay. You don't get to treat me that way. I understand that you believe this about me and it is not true, or you don't have the right to treat me that way. I'm going to stand up and I will set that boundary and I will let you know that's not okay. That was really hard for me. And once I learned how to build comfort in it, totally changed my life. Totally changed my life. And it's scary for people to express anger, for you to feel anger, for me to feel anger, to go, it's okay. It's the one that is so triggering for so many people because we've all had lived experience with anger in a very uncomfortable way. It's hard to have experienced life and not have experienced an expression of anger that has been scary. And to then know that your expression of anger doesn't have to be scary. It can be firm. It can be confident. It can be, don't mess with me. I am absolutely no, this is not going to happen. This is not okay. And it does not have to be scary. And the first step in that is knowing it's okay to feel angry. And when it's okay to feel angry and you accept that it's okay to feel angry, it's a lot easier to say to somebody else, that's not okay. I'm not okay with what you just did. And to know that you have a right to feel angry and expressing it in firmness and declaration of what you need, what you deserve, because you are worthy as a human being to be treated with respect. That's a very different space of dealing with anger and letting it serve you instead of swallow you.
And it is really learning to plan your response. When you can't change other people. It's not going to happen. You can encourage, they can change, and you may have influenced it, but you have no ability to really do it. So when we do have those trigger angry moments, it's also, how are you going to respond? They just did this thing. I've told them I'm not going to let them treat me like that again. They did. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to walk away? Are you going to open the door and say, oh, I was an idiot. Go ahead and keep being mean to me. So we have these responses. And I think once I said it like, say somebody throws a rock through your window. They did it. You got the pain. How do I respond? Do I put in a new window? That will solve the problem for now. I'll have a nice window. Do I change it to a door and leave it open so it never breaks again? Or do I board it up and never see outside my home again because somebody might throw a rock? So what is it that we're protecting? Our safety, our window, our what? And how am I going to do it? Do I really want to board up my window? Maybe I just, like, what do you do? And that's what we do as for our responses. How are we going to respond? And what's practical for you? We all have a different practicality. There's some things I have definitely boarded up. You can get through here. Nobody's getting through here again. And there's other things that I've just taken the window off and said, it's okay, come on through. I don't want you to break anything on the way. So there's those extremes, and it's what can you cope with? What can you handle? What can you do? So, and don't be ashamed if you had to board it up.
Right.
Don't be ashamed if you left the window broken, because that's how it works best. You won't have to worry about it ever again. There's no right or wrong. It's what works for you.
Exactly. And being able to name your worthiness in all things, that's where your truth is going to lie. To know that what works for you is based in your space of worthiness, your understanding of your worthiness, your knowing and ability to name your needs. My needs not going to be the same as your needs. And that's okay. That's what makes us who we are. And to know that when you get to make a response that is grounded in your needs, your knowing of your worthiness, your enoughness, then it's easier to rest in the decision that you make.
I like it. So, in summary, when we feel an emotion, we're going to name it. Then we're going to get curious about it. Where do I feel that in my body? Maybe what brought it on? Maybe what do I do that makes it subside the fastest? It might be outside. It might be stretching. It might be walking away. What is the thing that helps it where you're okay? And so is it. And then living through it. So did I cover all the steps?
Yes. Yes, you did.
Cool. Maybe I can do this next time.
Yes, you can.
Oh, Ann, it's been such a pleasure having you here with me today. You are amazing. And I really like the get curious about it, because so many times we put it in the closet to hide it. And you can't be curious. Well, you can be curious about it, but you're not going to discover anything if it's in the closet. So explore it, play with it, enjoy it.
Yes.
And know you're okay. So I love it. How about sharing a little bit with our friend how to get a hold of you, what you do, and what is that one thing we're going to do this week?
So you can reach me at my website. My business is called Luke's Eterna Healing, and it means light eternal. And so it's integrated energy work to help reconnect you with who you are. That's the whole focus of my work. And I have authored 3 books, all under the same title: Fall in Love with the Whispers of Your Heart, A Guide to Transformation from the Inside Out, which is all about curiosity, exploring the insides, getting to know who you are, getting to know your rich tapestry that helps inform who you are, and to enjoy the discovery process. And the final nugget I would love to share with everybody is that feeling is healing. When we give ourselves permission to feel, you then give yourself the great grace-filled gift of healing.
That is beautiful. Well, if I could feel it, I can heal it. Because then if I can feel it, I can get curious about it and I can do some exploration and figure it out and then be okay. I like it. Thank you so much.
It's been a treasure being here. Thank you, Laura Jane.
Oh, you are welcome. Friend, Ann and I are not medical or mental licensed professionals. We are here for entertainment. If you can, drop down to iTunes and leave us an honest review. Thanks, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Laura Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss the next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.